So I watched The Batman when it first came out, and I really liked it. It's my favorite depiction of Gotham City ever, and we get to see more of it. This show also has the Penguin, who was one of the highlights of that movie. Colin Farrell absolutely killed it as the Penguin, and he kills it again in the first episode of this show. So I haven't been following movie news as closely as I used to. That's what years ago I used to do on the channel, was whatever the latest comic book, movie, and video game news was. I haven't been following the news cycle too closely, but I did see a lot of people praising this show when the first episode came out. And I decided, you know what? Let's get in. Let's check this out. And I got to say, it's stellar. It is slow in pacing, but so was the Batman. You know, the Batman was fairly slow, and but a lot happens, and it's a deliberate kind of pacing. It's slow in some ways, fast in others. And I kind of like that, but it gives breathing room between action, and there is action, some really good action, actually. It feels like a mob show, and I kind of like that. I really dig the feel. It's a natural fit in Gotham City, you know, and it felt like this is a show where someone had a vision. And I really like it, you know, it deals with the Falcone. They say Falcones. Is it Falcone or Falcone? I've heard it pronounced both ways. I normally say Falcone, but I'll say Falcone, I guess, because that's how they say it in the show. Deals with the Falcone family and the Maronis as well. You get to see Salvatore Maroni, who is, of course, played by, I didn't know this, but he was played by Clancy Brown, who I love. Interesting casting choice, and he did a good job, you know. And speaking of interesting casting, I gotta say, this is probably the best performance I have ever seen out of Kristen Milioti, or is it Milioti? I'm sorry. I apologize if I'm pronouncing her name wrong, but she is stellar as Sophia Falcone. She is stellar. And Sophia, is probably my favorite Falcone character. Maybe next to Carmine, you know. I like her more than Alberto in the comics. I like Hangman more than Alberto. And when they mentioned the name Hangman, I kind of freaked out a bit, you know. I love The Long Halloween. I love Dark Victory. I love all of those stories that Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale did. And, of course, Batman Year One. All the stuff with the Falcones, I love. Who doesn't? And you could tell that the creators of the show really did as well. The look of Gotham City was, of course, amazing. You know, I really like that. I like the lighting. It looks so vile. And I like that it opens up with like this newscast explaining the state of the world and how the Riddler left Gotham City, in case you hadn't seen the movie. Before it dives right into the scum that is Gotham City. You get to see the effect that the Riddler's actions had on the world, and the effect that Falcone's passing has on the world. It's a perfect setup for this series. And I'm not sure if this series was planned when they first wrote the first Batman movie, or if it just naturally came out of the turmoil that would happen because of that movie. But either way, I love it. And I do wonder if Batman will show up in this series. I feel like he will. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he will. I think it's going to be a hidden thing, and people are going to be like, "Oh my God, it's Batman! It's Batman!" You know, I do think they're going to do that. I could be wrong, but I do think so. I remember I was watching actually my good friend Martin. I'll link his channel. Mentioned that he felt there was a parallel between Oswald and this new character Victor, and it's very similar to how Bruce Wayne meets Jason Todd in the comics. He literally meets him stealing tires off of his car and then takes him in to be the mentor, the sidekick. And I think that was intentional. Matt Reeves does strike me as a comic book fan, and I like that. I like it. It definitely feels more grounded than the comics. I would love to see the monocle. I would love to see the top hat from the Penguin and all that stuff. Maybe one day. But you know what I did really like? First of all, this is a gross-looking, messed up Penguin, right? And what I like, though, is that they have this one part where you see his foot, and it's just messed up. It's like it's a gross-looking foot. And I like that he walks with a waddle like a penguin because he has this messed up foot. They kind of had that in the Gotham show, and they have it here too, and it's great. It really is great. I love it. I love the world of the Penguin and how there's a lot of stuff you could tell hasn't been sort of shown yet. And I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited to see more of that. But you get hints of, we have this history, and they have a lot of name drops for comic book fans, but they've changed the world just enough. But we're like, it's familiar, but we're expecting new things. Now, obviously, I'm big into being true to the source material and whatnot, but it does feel respectful of the source material. Now, there is one change. I don't know if it's a full-on change, but I'm hoping it is. They've been calling him Oz Cobb. It's Oswald Cobblepot. I'm hoping that's a nickname, because I'm sorry if you change the name from Oswald Cobblepot to Oswald Cobb. I don't care if the series is otherwise 10 out of 10. I'm taking at least 1 point off for that, because I don't play around with that. Like, okay, if it's too goofy for your show, then wear it with pride. You are taking on a character that has been around since the 1940s. This is one of the most iconic villains, and I'll say in America, honestly. Like, the Penguin, very iconic, right? He's I would say the second most iconic Batman villain, right? After the Joker. To not really make that a thing where he's not Oswald Cobblepot, where he's Oswald Cobb. If you're not going to wear that with pride, if it's like, oh, it sounds too goofy, it sounds too comic booky, own it. You can make it work. The show is not going to be worse because his last name is Cobblepot. So if that was an intentional change, I disavow it entirely. Not okay with that. But if it's a nickname, still annoying, but it's fine. But I'm hoping that it's not that. But it seems to be, based on the credits and the IMDb. So I hope they didn't change that. That would really, really bother me. But back to stuff I like. Again, the look of Gotham and everything, the cinematography, the direction, all of that. The writing, I thought that everything flows to the next thing. It held my attention. It really did. I say it's slower in some parts because there's a lot of breathing room in the dialogue. It is a long episode, but a lot happens. And I'm down for 7 more of these, It really feels great. Now, I guess, I don't know if I want to get into spoilers, but I'm going to end off the spoiler-free section with absolutely check that out. Come back here after you've seen the episode and we could talk further. Okay. High recommend from me. You ready? 1, 2, 3. We're in. Okay. So with the Hangman thing, I think it's interesting. I noticed no signs of Mario Falcone. So there are 3 Falcone siblings from what I remember. There's Alberto, Mario, and Sophia. It looks like they've cut out Mario unless he shows up later, but I'm not seeing it. It's possible. Mario is obviously the least notable of the 3, so I understand if they were to cut anyone, it would be him. But Alberto is fundamentally, at least from what I saw, a different character entirely from the comics. Of course, Alberto Falcone, he was the straight edge. He didn't want to be involved with the mob. He was the studious one, which is why, and then his death obviously breaks Carmine. And then it's revealed that he faked his own death because he was Holiday. And he was the one doing the mafia killings, killing off because he hated his family, basically. He hated the whole mafia thing. Then Sophia, who's totally loyal to it, or I don't know, she was very loyal to her father, ends up killing Alberto and becoming the Hangman in the second book. It's revealed that Sophia is the killer, Hangman, the second killer in Dark Victory, which is the sequel to Long Halloween. And towards the end of that series, she literally smothers Alberto to death with a pillow, and Mario is left broken and just burns the mansion down. It's tragic, it really, the characters really hurt. But it's weird because now it seems like she loves her brother and they have this really close relationship where she literally kills Alberto in the comics. But Alberto, again, he seems almost like a party guy, a drunk, an asshole, and then he's killed off. And I wonder why they would do that with Alberto. Now, I don't mind personally because it looks like we're not. I mean, we've covered the Long Halloween or facets of it so many times, but I guess that story is so dense, and we keep taking more from it over and over again, as well as aspects of Dark Victory, which I love. That we can keep going with it. You know, we're not done adapting that story apparently, and the characters therein. But I think I was thinking about it, and I'm wondering, theorizing if maybe what they're doing with Alberto is they're making it where. So they mentioned she was Hangman, and then Penguin locked her up, right? I think that they're kind of switching their roles a little bit, and then I'm thinking that Hangman was going after her dad's people, that she was locked up by the Falcones, and that she went against the Falcones, and that's why they had to reform, because they established how deeply corrupt Gotham City is, right? I think, maybe the Riddler could get involved. Oh my God, that could be cool. Sorry, it's just an idea that came on. But I think that she went against the Falcones and was rehabilitated to be like, no, the mob is good. The mob is good. And I think she actually has plans to take down the mob, and it's just using their connections. I think she's going to go against the mob, against the family, because I think they kind of gave, my theory is that they gave her aspects of both killers. They gave her aspects of Hangman, who of course she is, as well as aspects of Holiday. I think she's going to exhibit aspects of both. And I think Alberto in this series is kind of the opposite of the comics in a certain way, where I actually think that I do think he was against the family. But I think that he had the whole party animal persona, or, whatever, but was really against the family. I don't know. I'm trying to figure. That's just a theory. I'm not 100%. I got to sit on it for a while, which I love. I love that I'm going to theorize. I'm going to think this through. I really like that stuff. I really do. But yeah. That's my thing. I think maybe one of my things is that they could be kind of working together. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. Why am I blanking on it? The Falcone siblings. It could have been working together. Then Penguin, in his anger, killed him, and then it's going to be revealed, well, we were going to take down my dad's empire anyway. We had our own vision, and you messed it up. We could have been allies. We could have used you, and in your impulsive decision, you screwed it up. I think that's what is going to happen. Is it going to be revealed that they could have been allies, but in this, he got very prideful, and it messed this up. I also think that impulsive decision where he mentions that there was this guy on the street and they did a parade for him. He never mentions this guy's name, to my understanding. Penguin in the opening scene. And then that causes Alberto to laugh, and then that causes him to kill Alberto. Immediately, I'm thinking, later on, you don't see the dad. I think that is Oswald's dad. He was talking about his own father. That was the guy that they did the whole parade thing. And that's why he got so triggered by it, because he laughs at his dead dad, and then he gets angry and he shoots. That's my theory. Again, I don't know how accurate it is, but I'm excited. I'm really excited for more from this series, more from this world. I think it's fantastic. And I'm going to say a high recommend. And I'm looking forward to more. I do wonder if maybe she was perhaps if Sophia was perhaps in cahoots with the Riddler, because the Riddler, in a lot of ways, even if he was going after corrupt officials the same way Holiday was. And I'm wondering if maybe the Falcones were feeding the Riddler information or something like that, or she was inspired by the Riddler, because he was against the corruption. She, I think, is using it to take it down. I think she's not in favor of it at all. I don't think she's going to be a mob boss. I think she's out for revenge for her brother, but she doesn't strike me as someone who's going to be a mob boss. She strikes me more as a vigilante, serial killer, psychopath type, and I like that. But just immediately when she enters the room, the presence she carries herself in every line of dialogue and every scene is so good. Like, her performance is incredible. I also have to give props to the young actor who played Victor. I do wonder if the Riddler is going to show up. Because in all honesty, these things, I don't need to see Batman. I don't need to see the Riddler, right? I'm fine with it being ground level, but I do think that there is room for them to be fit into the series. I think it would be really interesting because, again, and you know what I like? Even if they're not in the movie, their presence is going to be felt, and that's good enough for me. I would love to theorize what other characters are going to show up. But at the end of the day, the characters we have are just really cool, and I want to see more of them, and I want to see them explored more thoroughly. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know I kind of rambled a bit, but I wanted to just make this video right after I watched it, and then I'll upload it tomorrow. So hope you guys are doing well. Have a great rest of your day. And if you're here, if you're just discovering me, or if you want to know more, let me tell you quickly about my comic book, because I am, of course, a huge comic book fan. I want to talk about my comic book that I'm making, and it's called Phenomenova Issue 1. I'm sorry, I should have said made, because the book is done. It's been sent off to the printer, as well as the posters, the mini prints for all the backers. But if you're just learning about the project now, or if you want to know more, all you got to do is go to this link. It will be in the description, or type in rebeloasisstudios.com. It will take you, of course, to this sign-up page. Read about the comic. There's a little bit more. And join the mailing list, because as soon as the book is sent out to the people who backed on Indiegogo, on Kickstarter, on Fund My Comic, as soon as that is done, you will be able to buy it from my website. So make sure you do that. Make sure you stay up to date. Join the mailing list. Issue 2 is already far along. Basically, Phenomenova is a superhero story set 20 years after World War III and follows the idealistic son of a war hero who strikes out to become a superhero inspired by his father's bravery during the war. So if that sounds interesting, definitely check this book out. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. I can't wait to talk about the next episode. This is going to be a lot of fun. Peace out and have a great one.